Let's find out. Druid banned off straight away, along with Rogue. I don't see a mage yet, Sol, but these are the power picks, I would say, for the first 2 picks for each country.
Yep.
Oh, there it is.
China just gobbled up that mage. Second pick phase. Mage and Shaman taken up, so we will get to see it again. Brazil on the other side pick up their mage as well, which is one of the most aggressive decks they have. It's that Murloc mage on their side. So that would probably, I imagine, be a direct encounter that China will be looking to avoid. Try and get that quest mage up against something a little bit slower. And then finally, we end up with the final picks of Warrior for Brazil and the Hunter for China.
Yeah, and I believe Brazil are actually playing the odd Quest Warrior. So I can actually forgive them for bringing, because it has a way to win the game a lot of the time. Unless parted by Norway, maybe. But let's check out the actual matchups, because you said we'll see the Mage. We might not if it's a 3-0 and Mage is lined up in games 4 or 5. Never mind, it's game 2. I am a very happy little person right now. We are going to kick it off, though, with a Hunter mirror match between Race and Ulov as pilots. But then, as you can see, it's the Warrior versus the Mage. And then the Mage versus the Warlock, followed by Rogue Druid. And then finally, if it comes to that final game, it's going to be the Paladin versus the Shaman. But we could talk about the Hunter when we get into it. But Warrior versus the Mage... It wasn't an OTK, you know.
Discuss.
It wasn't an infinite combo we saw that Mage get done.
It's possible
when we saw it. I know it's
possible,
but it didn't happen in the 1-game sample size we have on stream for this.
Case of Luna, exactly. So it might come right down to the wire. I'm honestly not sure, on average, which of those decks is quicker in terms of completing the kill your opponent quest.
Okay, well, we'll continue this lengthy discussion soon. But for now, let's kick off game number 1 of the Global Games Finals. It's Brazil versus China. Both teams on the Hunter. And this is a game I can get into, because if there's anything I like, it's Hunter matchups.
If there's anything I like, it's Hunter vs. Hunter. Just a massive weeb.
Hunter X Hunter, yeah. Verse. Same thing, I guess.
Well, I mean, the context of what we're watching, that makes more sense. You have to take these creative liberties every now and again.
I just take every liberty every now and again.
Wow.
Okay.
Not sure that's something you want on the record, but meanwhile, neither player having the strongest opening hand here. No Keleseth, but we do see Devilsaur Egg and Activator on Brazil's side, whereas China just has a bit more of a lonely egg that they can drop onto the board. And yeah, I guess Flanking Strike is quote-unquote an Activator, but not really where you want to be with your life.
Right, and there's also as well this Spider Bomb, a card I'm learning to love even more and more the more I see it get played, is that you can actually just maybe pop an opponent's egg and then just kill the fact straight away. And that often makes such a swing turn that not only have you removed the Death Rattle off the board to actually, you know, dodge the activations, you actually kill the one threat it generates anyway. So we could see that come into play. Both players, both teams keeping it pretty fair, just having Katharina on their hands now. So both teams have an opening of a very explosive turn, 7 or 8, depending on how Brazil use this coin. But also the next few turns are going to be vital, because we've seen games where you now just draw all of the beasts in your deck and Katharina becomes very, very weak indeed.
On that note, Brazil's beast makeup, they have the 1 charged Devilsaur as their additional beast in the floating spot, if you guess. And actually, China have more. They have the charged Devilsaur and a Savannah Highmane in there, as well as the standard beasts.
Also, you just have to say that China's Katharina is just more powerful, right? Because it's just more likely to summon something. We've talked about this a lot, where the second summon from the Death Rattle is fantastic, but not overly important a lot of the time. It's the initial, you need it to pull something good straight away to be able to get that high impact turn 8.
China just go ahead, nice and easy turn, drop the egg. Brazil probably had some muted discussions about whether they wanted to accelerate and coin something out, but with Katharina in hand, the ability to be the first team playing Katharina by just coining that out on 7 is something that you do have to plan towards in this kind of mirror match. And just going back to the deck list, I think, you know, China do have a small edge there, because some of the cards that they've cut to make room for things like that extra Savannah Highmane. It's a mind control tech, for example, which, you know, how impactful is it in this matchup? Yes, you can get some big late game swings, but I think in a high level open deck list situation, your opponent plays around mind control tech very effectively.
Yeah, it can be a little bit difficult because the second you just leave a cube on the board, your opponent can maybe proc it and just create that board to steal from.
Sure.
And what I will say is, if you're behind and you get a strong mind control tech off, that next turn of attacks can often win you the game. You push too much, right? And we do see the Spider Bomb coming down now, being answered by the flanking strike and proccing the egg. And suddenly you might think, oh, but you know, they have the activator in the form of Play Dead. Well, guess what? Not next turn, but the turn after, they can just cube a 5/5 and then Play Dead it and then get 2 more from the cube itself. And again, these turns are just too overwhelming. As you mentioned about the mind control techs, Hunter does not realistically run a way to deal with a powerful wide board. And what that means is if you just explode onto the board with 5/5s early, 1, they have to kill them, and 2, they have to recover damage because they just take too much face damage for it to be a problem.
And now this is so much tempo picked up off that turn from China that Brazil now have to be very, very reserved, or at least if they're going to use that coin, make sure they have an absolutely good reason for it, because suddenly now things like, you know, Hunter's Mark flanking strike or Devil Saw Egg, play dead, just to try and fight on tempo are very appealing, but both of those plays use up the coin, which is so valuable to be the first player to Kathrena in this matchup.
It really is, isn't it? I am honestly torn between the coin with the egg double play dead and just flanking strike the 3/3. It's very different. They might just go halfway between all of that and not coin, but I don't think you can. Okay, they're going for the play dead, so they're saying, you know what, we'll give up the Kathrena early and just try and win the board right now. Does give a window to Brazil to actually just pummel this, because China can cube the 5/5, but then it has to go face.
Yeah.
And then it's even with play dead the next turn. Well, it's still just a 4/6 on the board, and your 3/3 is kind of semi-insignificant right now with the Wolf. So you are giving Race and Team Brazil just a huge chance to actually just get too far ahead in this game before you can get this fancy cube play dead play even off.
I'm going to go for it, though. I was eyeing up the potential of just a Ziliax turn here to trade out some of the 5/5 to kind of protect that 5/5 for next turn, where you could then cube play dead it immediately.
They could actually create one gigantic swing turn next turn with Hunter's Mark on the cube. Depending on what happens this turn, obviously. If the cube's just a 4/6, you can Hunter's Mark and go, like, create 4 5/5s on the board. Your opponent's on 20. And just put the onus on Brazil to say, well, you're dead if you don't do something. And then they still have decent follow-up in a couple of turns with Kathrena, and they can whip in a flanking strike as well. Look at it. This is just straight up, whoever makes more 5/5s wins at this point. Both teams having very similar opening hands.
This is just heavyweight boxing as presented by the movie Rocky. Just big dudes swinging at each other over and over again.
Oh, now double Hunter's Mark means not only can the cube be procced itself by having the death rattle, it means you can actually kill off a 5/5 as well. I keep talking about this Hunter's Mark your own cube, but maybe it's outside the box enough for China to go for.
It is very outside the box.
I like it, though.
Can achieve a similar thing with flanking strike that gets you an extra 3/3. If you want to go down that road. Doesn't take care of a 5/5. Also, I want to rewind this game several turns back to the coin turn for Brazil. So I'm not sure how much that coin really gained them in terms of getting the extra 5/5 in play. It is looking promising now because that extra bit of pressure is making China at least have to think somewhat defensively here. They can't just set up a big board immediately for themselves.
Where's the second Hunter's Mark? But yeah, you are right. They did effectively set up lethal, so it means, as you said, China do have to answer at least one of the minions.
Yeah.
And now China's done the same back. And it is because the hands are so similar, the opening really is, I have more than you, you need to kill. Oh, now I have more than you, you need to kill. And it's just very, very back and forth. And I don't think what Brazil have available to them now is going to be enough, because I don't really think they can track it into anything either.
Well, this Hunter's Mark your own minion, Raven, I actually like a lot more than the last one. Combining it with Houndmaster Shaw, potentially.
It's an egg, though, right?
Yeah, it's an egg.
Yeah. Yep, Devil Saw Egg, thank you. Lovely production team. Same turn.
Yeah,
you
exactly.
go. It's just a game of chess, isn't it, where you just mirror your opponent's turn every single time and then just wait for the breakpoints. But the problem is as well, whoever gets that one step ahead, the hero power becomes so significant because you can't just clear the minions and be like, oh, okay, we're fine now. It doesn't work. The hero power's going to chunk you down.
Yeah.
So it's already 11, only 2 damage required from China to win this game, and there's 1.
That 1 was all they could have, really, though, right?
Yes.
It's a weird spot.
There's no Argus, right?
No, don't think so.
Oh, but there is Void Ripper.
Ooh.
So Void Ripper Candle Shot would have been lethal.
Yeah. Just Void Ripper on its own. 4-6 into a 6-4 would have done the job. This Ziliax is huge, though, because the way the game's progressed over the last couple of turns is both teams have had to kind of respect each other.
Right.
This Ziliax kind of entitles you to a little lack of respect because, you know, you do get the healing, you do put a taunt in the way, so it allows China, if they want to here, to be much more aggressive than they'd have to otherwise.
Yeah, and the biggest thing for me here is for Team China, I don't see past the Candle Shot Hunter's mark because then you clear everything except 2 eggs off the board. And yes, you're not going face, and maybe they'll push the damage to face and go halfway, but they could clear everything, leave 2 eggs on the board and say, how do you even kill us at this point?
Yeah. 9.
Like I said, this is also completely reasonable.
Yeah, no, I think this is what the Ziliax really just entitles you to do, right? You have a taunt minion in the way, you've got that little bit of life steal, you're expecting to get some more from the next attack. These minions are very innocuous in terms of the trades they can make back into you. I don't really see any massive downside to trading with them. Sorry, to going face there and pushing the damage to end the game next turn.
Rexar, possibly a downside? Doesn't really matter, right? Doesn't change anything?
Well, if you trading is worse against Rexar,
because
right?
the damage is done.
You just miss damage and
yeah,
the
no, you're
right.
You're right. I'm just trying to think of the crazy situations that could come up, but I think you are right. And there's a big difference right now between having eggs and having dinosaurs, as you would believe. And that was the one that made the difference. And China take a very close hunter mirror, and I say mirror in every extent of the phrase now, because not only was it a deck mirror, it was almost a game mirror at that point, with both players just going egg, prog, cube, prog.
Both players, opening hand, no Keleseth. Started with an egg. Both had the activators for the egg. Both cubed. But
this is still Odd Warrior. What are the key differences between Quest and Odd Warrior? Because they are very similar decks.
They are, but there's just damage, basically. There's a few additional minions that you don't see, like Phantom Militia, for example, is basically Quest in a box for Quest Warrior. It's just so fantastic.
And what does the deck lose to enable to play the Quest? I think people would be quite interested to actually know about, oh, there's Odd Warrior that you can actually run the Quest in and just kill people with.
Yeah, it loses some of its kind of anti-aggro stability, right? And that's why we see some of the taunt minions that are being played are things like Abomination to try and regain a few of those percentage points. But it doesn't really matter in this particular matchup that we're facing down right now, because all that really matters is hero powers, card draw, and damage. And that Blackwalled Pixie is something that could be a seriously key minion here, even if it's just to push damage early on. If they do choose to hold on to it to the late game, that could represent so much burst damage later on.
Yeah, it's one of the benefits of the shape of this minion is, okay, if you're playing against a super slow deck and you want to just wait for the value play later on, fine. But also, it's just a decent shape on 3. It's a 3-4 that actually starts just chunking away for damage. And outside of a Doomsayer, there aren't too many things that can clean this up efficiently for Team China, as I see Sol just grab the Chinese deck list, was it, of Mage, and just start going, right, what were the cards again?
I was about to say, and treat it as a moment of inspired improv, as I remember all 30 cards in China's deck. If you didn't catch the last series, it's worth giving a quick recap 100%. Of what is an entirely unique deck to this tournament. It's Quest Mage in the sense that you might have been used to back in the Ice Block Cold Light Oracle days, in that it aims to make the Infinite Sorcerer's Apprentice and Archmage Antonidas Fireball combo happen. It has all those same cards that makes that combo combo happen. But apart from that, we're looking at Research Project, Arcane Intellect, Alaneth, and Stargazer Luna as the draw package. Only Frost Nova and Doomsayer in terms of removal and stall. And then there's this weird kind of quasi-elemental package where there's less of Ruby Spellstone, which gives you random mage spells but requires elementals to upgrade it. So therefore, we then see the Fireflies coming into the deck as well.
Yeah, and look at that Spellstone indeed. It's pretty heavily upgraded as far as I can see, at least. 3 random mage spells, fully upgraded. It's not often you even see the artwork, guys. So, you know, enjoy that view, because this is not a common deck. It's the first time I've seen this deck, first time I've seen it be played. This is not something that has been tweeted around too much until of these deck submissions. It may be more popular in China. Unfortunately, I do not have the depth of Chinese meta knowledge that maybe I should. It's kind of hard to find out some of the information about that, but this is going to be a strange matchup. That is one thing I can promise you.
Also, who knew there was such a height discrepancy between the players on Brazil's team?
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. Wow. It shows how intense it is, and what's really funny is we've noticed this from other teams where, you know, they're leaning more forward. Yeah. They've got progressively closer to the stream, to the screen, the further they've made it into the tournament.
Right.
Because Brazil did not do this yesterday, right? And they're like, right, ultimate focus mode enabled. I wonder how closely as well they've watched the China versus Norway match. Because I would be studying that one game over and over again if I was one of the members of Team Brazil.
So they do rip their Spellstone. Breath of Syndragosa, Vaporize, and a Pyroblast are picked up here. Pyroblast, a pretty big whiff, honestly. 10 damage, unlikely to be relevant, really, unless they're forced to go for another kind of those weird quasi-pushes that they did in the last series, where it will be great as a finisher. But just in terms of quest completion, you just want cheap spells, or as cheap as possible.
Yeah, and also the fact that they're against a deck that does not have damage permanence.
Yes.
It means that the Pyro is still obviously 10 damage, but as you can see, Warrior can gain health quite easily, i.e. every single turn at worst for 2 mana, which means that Pyroblast's effectiveness just erodes over time the more they can press that armor up.
Wax Elemental, yeah, I was going to say, take the Waxy Boy, play it nice and cheap now. You have double Phantom Militia to follow this up and an Abomination. Brazil are very much getting there with the fabled turbo quest that they need in this matchup.
Yeah, not a super common list with this quest, but you know, it harkens back to the early days of Quest Warrior where all the discovers, really, most of them were just the cheapest thing. You're not playing a long, late control game. You're trying to just get to the quest as quickly as possible, and guess what? 1 mana taunts that proc your quest are fantastic cards in that deck.
Reality woven.
Arcane Artificer mainly played to just get it out of the hand, I think, more than anything. Yes, the armor gain isn't huge, but you need hand space when you're going to draw as heavily as this deck can.
We're so far into this card existing, and you still call it Artificer.
Yeah. It fishes for arty armor.
Apparently, yeah. It's just hanging off a pier, angling for some Monets.
Yeah, there you go. That would be a great alternate artwork, so I think everyone would only be happy with this.
From Brazil's side, they've just got to keep it going here. This is 2 Phantom Militias, I believe, for 4 and 5 on the quest counter. Then Abomination makes it 7. They're going to have a couple of natural card draws and a shield block after that to try and find themselves another one.
You confused me greatly with that sentence.
Well, why?
I heard Militia make it 4 and 5 and Abomination make it 7.
Did I? Okay.
I'm like, but what about 6?
Sorry, I misspoke. Abomination would make it 6.
Yeah, we're just skipping 6 nowadays. Primordial Glyph. And you're starting to understand the predicament we discussed that Norway had earlier against this deck, is that at this point you're like, well, they have cards. I don't really know what they are, but they have them. And then there's still another Spellstone that's going to start racking up, and even if it's just, you know, the lower end of the evolution of the Spellstone, it's still more cards that once it gets to the point where you know there are multiple random effects, you just can't really play around them effectively at all.
Right. This is, again, one of the big questions that you do have to ask about the deck, because this is, even for a very slow pedestrian deck like Taunt Warrior, Quest Warrior is in the early game, it's managing to amount, a pretty significant amount of pressure that really the only way China has to relieve is the Frost Nova and Doomsayer in terms of being able to wipe boards. But they're able to pick it apart with a few of those smaller effect spells, the Flame Geyser and the Frostbolt, being able to get jobs done.
Yeah, one of the unfortunate things as well is with this deck, China can't, for example, hold these Fireflies to beat the quest of the warrior in terms of just putting more targets on the board that 8 damage may hit. They need to use them because that's how they progress their own quest. So they can't just hold on to small minions. Let's go fishing.
Two more random spells, Ink. Arcane Intellect, Flame Geyser. That is lovely in this position.
It's just more stuff.
China considering whether they want to rip this Book of Spectres right now. There are some key spells that I think they will want to hold on to.
Well, what did you make of it as a pick from Glyph?
I was considering it. I think it was a very underwhelming Glyph in general, and just, you know, draw 3 cards, get 3 cards closer to my Antonidas is something that they might need at some point in the future, right? Because at that point, if you reach the point in the game where you're just fishing for your Antonidas, if you discard spells, great, still drawing them as far as you're concerned. But following that point up, I would have been surprised to see them go with it there, because there are still a couple of key spells that they really don't want to be losing at this point.
It feels weird to take it from Glyph at that point in the game, but you do not have to cast it at that point in the game, which is the key part. And it's 0 mana, which means they can drop that whenever they desire, and it has that 0 impact on the resources they have available for any given turn. I was considering Mind Control Tech just as another thing that can do damage, as it will not steal anything this turn, of course. Getting rid of the armor, or the armor generation, should I say, and still just pushing the rest to face. The Abomination, of course, will kill off these 1-1 and 1-2 if it does die, but even more card draw available. There's a Glyph in hand as well. You know what they're missing?
Go on.
Little Sorcerer's Apprentice. Because they have a Molten Reflection and they have a lot of already cheap spells that 2 apprentices would make a lot of impact on. It's not like, you know, outside this Pyroblast, they can pretty much cast their hand if they drew 1 Sorcerer's Apprentice.
There she is. Those 2 draws really improve their hand quality significantly.
Next turn, they are drawing their deck.
They still have Coin available as well, when we haven't really paid attention to, which does count as another spell that is castable.
It's very true.
There is a generated Flame Geyser, which I believe is number 3 for them, and they're just going to go ahead and drop out the Stargazer Luna here. And then coin out for potentially the Flame Elemental. Yeah. Okay.
Behold the tools of creation.
Seems a little bit sacrificial of the Stargazer Luna, but I guess they're considering that they aren't going to need that much card draw. They actually do need to get some cards out of their hand before they can start filling it back up again.
Especially if one of the problems you have to just be a little bit careful of is if Luna's on the board and the far right card is like Arcane Intellect. And you're like, oh, okay. Because one thing they cannot do in this game is burn Antonidas. Have to be extremely careful that that doesn't happen. Still, though, Luna can kill some of these minions, so there's still some level of value right now.
Yeah. And China have just found so much time here because Brazil have just stalled out. They got to 6 out of 7 on their quest completion very quickly, basically without missing a beat, filling out a perfect curve of taunt minions. And then even, as I mentioned at the time, before I confused Raven, he did have that shield block available, did Lucas, to even go fishing for 1 extra card draw. But even off that and off all the natural draws, they're yet to find that one last taunt minion that they really need to get this ball rolling.
This could be so bad. I mean, they have a lot of taunts in the deck, so it could easily be next turn. But the second it's, what, like 2 turns from now? Even then, that feels late.
Yep.
Too late, maybe. Because China can now take a relatively slow turn in getting these Tempests on the board. They don't. It's not like the previous match where they had to play Apprentice and go because they were forced into it.
Yep.
They have time. They know not only does their opponent have to find a taunt that they clearly do not have and still do not have with that Reckless Flurry pickup, they also have to play it, then equip the weapon, then start pressing hero power. That's at least, what, 1.5 turns worth of stuff to do?
Yes. One thing that China do have to be somewhat careful of here, is there is a key card in Brazil's deck that we haven't really addressed yet, which is Azalina Soul Thief, which is something that does become quite relevant when it comes to playing against quest decks. When China choose to complete their quest, they need to make sure they're going all the way with it and playing the Time Warp in the same turn that they complete. Because if they do not do that and it sits in hand for even a turn, they're opening themselves up to an Azalina to steal that quest reward. And then if Brazil are then able to finish their quest on the following turn and get a free turn of shooting 8 damage, that suddenly turns into a position where an unwinnable matchup might become somewhat winnable for Brazil.
Imagine if you did that and had 2 pixies in your hand as well.
Yeah, exactly.
OTK! This ball's going to come down just to remove some of these minions and be able to actually play something for Team Brazil here. And the Owl MVP winning the brawl and being able to at least maybe force a ping out from China. But there's Mortal Reflection again. Is this just go time?
I guess so.
You may as well play the book first, because you can just see if you draw into...
Ooh, hello.
You can see if you draw... Oh.
Hello.
Okay.
No Antonidas just yet. And that research project is something that they might have liked to have access to.
Because they don't have actual card draw now.
Yep.
So now do they just have to wait, get Vaporize online, and just say, okay, we'll draw 1 more card, see what happens?
Yeah, this isn't enough to go off just yet. So again, because of that fear that I was talking about earlier, I don't think that they can finish their quest and then just sit with the Time Warp in hand.
One of the benefits, though, of just having that book so cheap is that you can just cast it blindly and say, we'll decide what to do afterwards.
Right.
And again, here's another new spell for China to play with. After this Tempest is dead, it's a Frostbolt. You're okay with Doomsayer Pass?
Seems fine to me.
Just play... Would you play the... There's no secret that really messes with the quest from a taunt draw, correct? It's not right, because once the taunt hits the board, whether it dies or not, doesn't change the quest.
Sorry, what are you asking? I'm lost.
So, because they're Vaporize, I was like, oh, did they just slam Vaporize? And it's like, are they waiting to play as secret?
They can't, because I believe they're one-off quest completion right now, and Vaporize is a random spell, so they just don't...
Oh, they're one-off, right?
Yeah,
okay. They don't want the Azalina, yeah.
What to do?
What a weird deck.
To do.
Pyroblast. Also, not playable to complete the quest.
Raven, same issue as last time.
I'm just going to keep trying to pit the cards. Flame gun. Now, Doomsayer straight away. First play we talked about, and the most simple, straightforward. They need to wait to get the key cards locked and loaded to go. Is the ping not going to be impactful on face, because they will, when they want to go, they will have unlimited damage?
That says taunt on it.
It does. Most importantly, it means these minions can survive because you can equip the weapon as well. So you can guarantee a kill on the Doomsayer.
Interesting.
And that's just 6.
Is that better than 10 to face, though?
Well, you're swinging the weapon, right?
I guess so.
I think you kill the Doomsayer with the Ziliax and the weapon. Push 3.
Okay.
And then you have 2 3-attack minions, the second charge of the weapon, and then freedom of hero power.
I can see that.
Because this is just 6 a turn, and there's not many 6s left in China's health pool right now.
Yeah. I guess I'm just asking, like, how much repeat damage do you expect these minions to get versus just throwing them out there? But I guess you immediately make it back if it just lives 1 turn, so seems reasonable.
Now this is just lethal without the minions if the hero power can go face.
Yep, and now that's China's sign to just
project,
go off, but they picked up the research project, and that changes everything. So now, after having to wait for multiple turns to complete this quest, because of the fear of the Azalina coming out, they draw the cycle in the perfect turn. There's the Antonidas off the top. This time what will generate, it's playable for the Sorcerer's Apprentice discount, and I feel like we haven't seen this for a very long time, but the fireworks are about to commence.
Hold on to your hats, because this is going to be a lot of fireballs going to face, and I will say, of all the criticisms the viewers, the players, and us as casters have given China, we cannot argue with the fact that this is an extremely unique deck that is getting wins on the BlizzCon stage right now and might be the deck that made them get to the finals and then get to take that crown home.
I'm just enjoying this, Raven. If there's one thing that sometimes frustrates me about Hearthstone, it's the lack of just complete goofball combo decks that work, and this is just scratching my itch right now.
Yeah, and now I got to consider, is Brazil not conceding because they want to discuss strategy for the next game? They're like, we'll take this time, actually. This is fine. Aha, indeed.
We did once test, in a moment of extreme boredom, how much armor it took before you couldn't out-APM the rope and finish it, but it's a lot more than Brazil had in that position. That is going to end 2-0 for China. They swept last time, including a Quest Mage victory. They are looking for back-to-back 3 donut victories. Whew!
I'm just kind of shocked. When honestly, this is completely true, we saw the deck lists, and we genuinely saw China's list, went straight to the mage, and we all just went, what is this? How does it win? How does it work? You know,
Quest Mage, how does it work?
Okay, how does it get wins versus a variety of decks? Because in global games, I'll sweeten the deal. Old Leper Gnome and Old Abusive Sergeant.
Now you're speaking my language.
Oh yeah, well let's get into it. Is China gonna 3-0 Brazil in the grand finals of the global games here at BlizzCon? We're about to find out, as they have a pretty reasonable opening, at least with that Light Warden and the options for tap, and now they're only a heal away from another high-powered opening that we saw in our previous cast of China.
Deja vu.
Yep. Although that's a lot of cheap Murlocs, so.
Sure is.
Just bluegill them down.
It's a lot of very, very poor Hearthstone cards.
I just love the way Void Ripper's there. Imagine he turns up to the deck and he looks around, he just sees Murlocs. He's like, wait, what? What's going on? How have we reverted back in time?
Oh! If China ever needed a Keleseth. And you see Race just looked up to the heavens, threw his head back in reaction to that top deck from China. They can feel this one slipping away from them, and you can feel the energy in the predominantly Brazilian supporting crowd just being sucked away as well with every subsequent moment. Saronite first draw off the top as well. Not playable on 3, but it's the dream draw for next turn.
I am less hearing the anguish from the Brazilian fans in the audience and more feeling it, to be completely honest right now.
I'm tasting it.
Yeah, this is rough. Luna is definitely not bad to just drop on the board. It opens up options for the following turn. But look at this. There's the buffed Chain Gang. One of, if not the most powerful follow-up to a Keleseth is to draw Chain Gang that is buffed. Then there's Fungal Enchanter into Happy Ghoul if and so required. And then there's just a Fungal Mancer if these minions don't get dealt with.
What's your Murloc Raider going to do now?
Draw a card for 1 mana, Sol. 1 mana, 2/1, draw a card.
All right, fair enough. Best Murloc Raider ever. Look at the difference in body language. You love, I think that is just hopping up and down with glee. Whereas on Brazil's side, just consternation, just hunched over, staring at the screen, trying to consider their outs.
I was about the hovers then on the cards. I don't speak, you know, any other languages actually, but I can guess that they were saying, yes, we can Fungalmancer or play the other cards. They're both pretty good right now.
Behold the tools.
The buff on the Luna
creation.
is going to allow a trade. There was a draw as well, but this, you're still facing down 6. The Luna dies, and then China are probably just like, cool, good turn, friends.
I think
how about this?
Potentially Fungalmancer can end this game. Fungal Enchanter Happy Ghoul has a very similar
That's what I'm saying.
Well.
They hovered over them both saying, oh, which one do we want to play next turn?
But this is the kind of position that the aggressive mage decks have just never been able to fight back from. They don't have the ability to swing back from this far behind on the board. This one could be slipping away. China are looking step by step closer to an incredible team victory.
They really are, and if a country ever needed some kind of win this year. It is China, and this could be the redemption story paying off for these players. And there's a draw of Happy Ghoul with Fungal Enchanter, double Happy Ghoul that have been buffed by Keliseth. I do not think there are cards that even exist in the game that can dig Perna and Team Brazil out of this.
They know, they understand, Brazil know, Brazil understand. They give the round of applause. There may be a big dose of sarcasm behind that, but nevertheless it is a figurative concession, and I think very soon we might see a literal one.
Yeah, there's a Tide Caller into a Discover from the Primal Fin Lookout, another card I can't believe we're talking about in the finals of the Global Games, but I believe that is going to be it. Brazil concede, and China are your Hearthstone Global Games champions. What a story! Singly, as players, they have struggled throughout the year to perform in tournaments like HCT, but in global games, they have dominated, and they take the win today.
Greater than the sum of their parts, China, as a nation, have taken it down, but massive congratulations also to Brazil. They had the best overall record throughout the entire tournament, only losing a single series up until this point, and you saw what it meant to them at the end there. They immediately got into a group huddle. They've probably grown as friends and people throughout this experience, but still, this is China's moment.
Okay, and that's enough from us for the day. It is an absolute pleasure to bring you these finals and to bring you the Global Games from Sol and myself. But more importantly, let's hear from the winning team standing by with Frodan.
It's been 4 years since China's been able to return to the global stage grand finals, and this time China takes its first grand tournament. I want to get to know these players' thoughts and how much this victory means to them.
这是4年来中国首次获得大赛的一个冠军，这对中国所有的炉石玩家来说应该是至关重要，意义深远。那他想，Frodan 想问问你们现在的感受如何？这对你们意味着什么？
首先来讲，必须要谢谢中国的水友，然后给我们进行投票，让我们来到这里，实现了我们的一个梦想。然后在打比赛之前，然后发微博，我说。请把你们的元气借给我们。然后今天我们的所有的喊的神抽全部都来了，这可能是我们中国的国服的一个集体的力量，真的谢谢你们了，谢谢你们。我相信这是我们第一个冠军，那绝对不是第二个，这只是一个冲锋的号角吧。我希望我们肯定在各个大赛都会崭露头角的。
I want to shout out to the whole Chinese community for their support and voting for us. That's the only reason we can be here. And I think even though this is like the first big trophy that we got from the tournament since the past 4 years, but I think it will never be the first one. It's just the beginning.
That's a great answer to me. I want to also know about what's it like winning as a team, because a lot of people always cheer for Chinese individuals, but it must feel so much sweeter doing it with some of your friends and teammates.
那你们觉得就是作为一个战队，然后代表中国参加这次比赛，和平时自己以个人身份参加比赛有什么不同吗？
可能战队更加要求一些团队的协作，我们在各个的所擅长的领域全都不一样，而且我们又非常的协调的合在一起，所以我觉得我们这次表现得非常非常好，我们非常满意，非常开心，谢谢。
We think we did a perfect teamwork together, and it feels really, really well because it's totally different than like playing individually, because we can put together our joint effort and make up each other's disadvantage as a whole team. So it's pretty awesome.
And that's what makes the Hearthstone Global Games special. Che-Cho from Hearthstone Esports is here to present your gold medals for China. Let's give it up for our Hearthstone Global Games 2018 champions. It's you, Love, Lee, Omega Zero, and Trunks. And here to present the trophy, we also have Sam Brayworth from Blizzard Hearthstone Esports to also present.
On behalf of Blizzard Entertainment, it is my honor to give you guys this trophy and the title of Global Games Champion. Congratulations.